Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is a requested video. We are talking about the 3/4 shimmy. This is a challenging movement because it utilizes a bunch of different muscle groups and it's a cross-lateral movement, so it really challenges your coordination. This is accessible for my beginners, but I do recommend approach it with a lot of patience, especially if you are newer. Let's just get right to it. I hope you enjoy the video. So the 3/4 shimmy really perplexes a lot of dancers because it's actually combining two different isolations and a step. So don't be deterred if the 3/4 shimmy is just very elusive for you. It's actually a very difficult movement. The basic mechanic is going to involve the lift of the hip and the bump. And I have a video that you can check out down there that details the difference between those two movements. The biggest difference is the trajectory of the hip bone itself. So briefly to go through that, for your lift, your hip is coming up like a puppet string, pulling it up, or even slightly internal into the body. Sometimes I think about pulling it across towards the opposite rib. So it's coming in like so. We're also doing this with a lift because that is the beginning of our step. We're also doing the hip bump, and this we have to use the glute, and we're changing the weight and pushing the weight into that heel. So I have no weight on this foot, all the weight is here. And this movement is outward at a diagonal. So picture two lines, out like this and up like this. So you can picture little L's right here. There are two different ways that I explain this. I will explain them both. They are the same movement. Don't get me wrong. I just started at different points because it helps certain people to understand it if it's explained differently. So try listening to both explanations and see which one works for you. We'll start with this one where we think of and, one. So what I'm doing there is I'm stepping my foot, I'm lifting it up. As I do that, with a nice grounded standing leg, right? I'm gonna lift up using my obliques. This is a great test to see if you're pushing with your leg or if you are able to isolate with the actual torso muscles. Side note. But lift your hip up and then drop it. I'm touching my weight here, but I have not planted it yet. So we go 1, 2. And then we're gonna go 3. This is where I change the weight. So notice the weight has gone from my standing leg heel into the forward leg. 1. So if you take out and all you have is a walking hip bump. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's a hip bump, not a hip lift, so the hips are going out, 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 out. That's the basic components. Up, release, change the weight. Up, release, change the weight. And the key is just to practice it over and over and start it slow and then speed it up. I'll show you the second way to think about it. Remember, the counts and the placement and the movements are all exactly the same. We're just starting at a different point. We're going to think of flex. Sometimes this helps because we're thinking of the step first. So you just step with a hip bump. You're going to think hiccup. Pick up your hip, release it, and then change the weight. So if I show you from the side, you'll see that my weight is in my right foot. Then I'm going to lift, release, and then step again. You want to take small steps, all right? Nothing fancy. So we have and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. You can do the same thing going back. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. If we start it from the hip bump, it's the same thing. 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 5, and a 6, and a 7, and 8. A little challenging, but the best thing to do first is to practice it in place without stepping. So when you practice, you should practice and a 1, and a 2. And remember that the drop or the count is a It is the relaxing of the contraction. It is not its own thing. So we're not going up, down, out. We do something similar in the Hagala or the 3/4 on the down, but that's a different video. But for this one, you have this little moment of release. And also, the lift, it's not a super strong movement. It's soft. So think of a soft pick up and release, and the big snappy movement is the hip bump. So if we're going from the idea of being on the one, starting on the one instead of starting on and a. So we're starting here, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? A couple do's and don'ts. Want to make sure that you're not bobbing up and down. Do give yourself a grace period with this, because at first you're going to be really focusing on those hips, not so much on being grounded, and you might feel your weight getting thrown all over the place. But you want to work towards staying really level. You can practice with the book on your head. Also make sure that this movement is fairly parallel. It's very vertical, so it's happening on one vertical plane. It's not twisting at all. I'll show you this movement from the back a couple of times, and I'm going to start closer to the camera. So we're going to go, let's start with the first style where we start on the and. So we'll try and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And let me see if my feet are in the frame yet. No, let's scooch forward. So watch what my feet are doing. That's equally important. They're coming up and change, up and change. You do not have to lift the whole foot. You don't have to come and 1. You can just lift the heel. So it's going and 1 and 2 and 3. So I'm only moving my foot as far as I need to place it down again. Now I'll show you the same thing, but with the opposite starting point, starting with the hip bump. So let's say we're starting bump on the right, lift on the left. So this will be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That is it, you guys. Thank you so much. I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know in the comments if you have questions or ideas. I appreciate you being here. Please keep dancing, especially in this time. Stay safe, be kind to each other, and keep dancing. I'll see you soon. Bye.